The Karen camp was tense. Drax stood in the center, arms crossed, looking proud and confident. He was bigger than Velmor, with darker blue skin and more elaborate bone ridges on his head. His armor was covered in marks that showed many battles won. Velmor stood facing him, and for the first time since Tejo had met him, the gentle poet looked truly angry. "You have no right to challenge this," Velmor said, his voice tight. "I have every right. The ritual requires the warrior to be seen and chosen. You were dying, barely conscious. How could he truly see you?" Drax argued. Warlord Kethzar stepped between them. "Enough. If Drax invokes the ancient rite, we must honor it. There will be a trial of worthiness." "What is that?" Tejo asked Sujin, who was standing beside him, translating everything. "A test. 3 traditional challenges. If you pass them, you prove the bond is real. If you fail, Drax can claim the right to court you instead," Sujin explained quietly. "Can I refuse?" Tejo asked, not without dishonoring Velmor completely. He would be seen as unworthy. He could never recover from that shame, she said. Tejo looked at Velmor. The alien was trying to hide it, but Tejo could see the fear in his golden eyes. This was not about pride for him. This was about everything. "I will do it," Tejo said loudly. "I will take the trial." Velmor looked at him with surprise and something else. Hope. "The trial will happen in our sacred grounds in the mountains. Tomorrow at dawn," Warlord Kethzar announced. That night Tejo could not sleep. Jinwoo and Haiwan stayed with him, trying to help him prepare. Sujin brought all the information she had about Karen trials, but there was not much detail. "Usually the challenges test strength, courage, and wisdom," Sujin explained. "But the exact nature changes based on who is being tested. I'm not strong like a Karen warrior. I am just a botanist," Tejo said, feeling anxious. "Then be a botanist," Haiwan said firmly. "Use what you know. You are smart. You are resourceful. You can do this, but why am I doing this?" Tejo asked. 2 weeks ago I did not even know Velmor existed. Now I am taking trials for him? Because you care about him, Jinwoo said simply. I have known you your whole life. You would not do this just to prevent war. You would find another way. You are doing this because you do not want to see him hurt. Tejo was quiet. His friend was right, dawn came too quickly. The Kareen led them deep into the mountains to a valley surrounded by tall peaks. Ancient stones carved with symbols marked the sacred ground. The entire Karen tribe had gathered to watch. Many colonists had come too, including all of Tejo's friends. Velmor approached Tejo before the trials began. "You do not have to do this. I will survive the shame." "No, you will not." "Not really," Tejo said. "Besides, I want to do this." "Why?" Velmor asked. "Because you matter to me," Tejo said. "I do not know what that means yet, but you do. So I will take the trial." Something in Velmor's expression changed. It was like the sun coming out from behind clouds. "Thank you," he whispered. Warlord Kethzar stood at the center of the sacred ground. The first trial begins. The trial of the hunt. The candidate must track and capture a living creature and bring it back here. You have until the sun reaches the top of the sky. Drax smiled. He clearly thought Tejo would fail this one. Tejo took a breath and walked into the forest. He knew he could not hunt like a Karen. He was not strong enough or fast enough. But he was observant. He knew how to track. He had been studying this planet's ecology for years. He found tracks near a stream, small paw prints. He followed them carefully, moving quietly like Velmor had taught him during their walks. He found the creature's den under some roots. It was a small animal like a rabbit, but with 6 legs and blue fur. Tejo pulled out plants from his bag. He had brought samples for his research. Some of these plants had strong scents that animals on this planet found attractive. He crushed the leaves and made a trail leading to a clear space. Then he built a simple trap using flexible branches and vines, like his grandfather had taught him when he was young. Not a trap to hurt, but to catch. He waited. The creature came out, following the scent. It walked into the trap. The branches bent and closed gently around it, holding it but not harming it. Tejo carefully approached and picked up the creature. It was scared but unharmed. He carried it back to the sacred ground. The Karen gasped when they saw him. He had returned with time to spare. He set the creature down gently. It ran away into the grass perfectly fine. He did not kill it, someone said. He caught it without hurting it, another voice added. Warlord Kethzar looked impressed. Among warriors, we always kill what we hunt. But you showed mercy. You showed that strength can be gentle. The first trial is passed. Drax looked annoyed but said nothing. The second trial, the warlord announced. The trial of elements. You must survive one night alone on the sacred peak. You may take nothing with you but the clothes on your back. Tejo looked up at the mountain peak. It was high and bare. The wind was already strong and night would be cold. As the sun began to set, Tejo started climbing. His legs hurt. His hands got scraped on the rocks. But he kept going. He reached the peak just as the last sun was setting. The wind immediately hit him, strong and freezing. He looked around. There were rocks and some tough grass. Nothing else. He needed shelter fast. Tejo used rocks to build a small windbreak. He gathered the tough grass and wove it together using a technique he had learned from studying native plant fibers. It took hours. His fingers were numb from cold. But slowly he made a rough shelter. Then he heard a sound. A small cry. He looked around and saw a young Karen child, maybe 6 years old, wandering near the cliff edge. The child must have followed the trial group and gotten lost. Tejo did not think. He ran toward the child. The wind was so strong it almost pushed him over. He grabbed the child just as they stumbled near the edge. "It is okay. I have you," Tejo said, holding the child close. The child was crying and freezing. Tejo brought them into his rough shelter. He held the child close, sharing body warmth. He told stories through the night to keep the child calm. Stories about Earth, about stars, about kind aliens who write poetry. Dawn came. Tejo was exhausted. The rescue party arrived at sunrise looking for the lost child. They found both Tejo and the child safe in the shelter. When they returned to the sacred ground, the child's mother ran forward crying with relief. The entire tribe was talking about what happened. He risked his life, someone said. He kept my child warm all night, the mother sobbed. Warlord Kethazar raised his hand for silence. The trial of elements is not just about surviving. It is about showing your true nature when tested. You passed. You put another life before your own comfort. Drax was looking less confident now. The final trial, the warlord said. The trial of truth. You must stand before us all and speak truly about the bond. No lies, no hiding. Only honest words from the heart. Tejo stood in the center of the sacred ground. Every eye was on him. He could see Velmor standing with his father looking terrified. I will tell you the truth, Tejo began. When I found Velmor in the forest, I did not know about your ritual. I did not know about water meaning marriage. I just saw someone who needed help. So I helped, Drax smiled. See, it was an accident. The bond is false. Let him finish, the warlord commanded, Tejo continued. It was an accident at first. But getting to know Velmor, that was not an accident. Learning to care about him was not an accident. These past 2 weeks, he has shown me kindness, patience, and respect. He has taught me about your world. He has written me poetry that made me cry. He built me a house with his own hands. Tejo looked directly at Velmor now. I do not know if this is love yet. I do not know if we can truly build a life together. We are so different. But I know I want to try, not because I am afraid of war. Not because of duty. But because when I think about saying goodbye to Velmor at the end of this month, it makes me sad. That has to mean something. The sacred ground was silent. Then the warlord spoke. You have passed all 3 trials. You hunted with mercy. You survived with courage. You spoke with honesty. The bond is real. The bond is valid. The Karen tribe erupted in cheers. Even Drax had to bow and accept defeat. The child's mother brought Tejo flowers. Others came forward with gifts. Velmor walked through the crowd to Tejo. His golden eyes were wet. You chose me, Velmor said quietly. Knowing everything. Understanding everything. You still chose me? Yes, Tejo said. I did. Velmor's 4 hands gently took Tejo's 2 hands. I will spend my life being worthy of that choice. Tejo smiled, tired but happy. You already are. As the celebration began around them, Tejo realized something. His simple act of giving water had changed everything. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the best things in life came from unexpected places, from accidents that turned into something real. He still had half a month left before the final decision, but standing there holding Velmor's hands while 2 species celebrated together, Tejo already knew what his answer would be. The first gift arrived at dawn. Tejo was still asleep when he heard a loud thump outside his door. He got up, rubbing his eyes, and opened the door carefully. On his doorstep was the body of a large dead animal. It looked like a deer but had scales instead of fur. There was a note attached, written in careful human letters. For my honored one, I hunted this myself at dawn. May it bring you strength. Velmor Tejo stared at the dead animal. He was a vegetarian. He had been a vegetarian since he was 12 years old. He did not eat meat at all. Oh no, he whispered. Heywan came out of her room, took one look at the dead animal, and started laughing so hard she had to lean against the wall. It is not funny, Tejo hissed. It is a little funny, she said, wiping tears from her eyes. What are you going to do with it? I have no idea, Tejo said. The problem solved itself when some of the colony kitchen staff came by. They were happy to take the animal for the community meals. But Tejo still had to figure out how to tell Velmor without offending him. The next gift arrived that afternoon. Tejo was at his research station, trying to work on his plant samples. He heard a roar outside and looked out the window. Velmor was there riding his massive tiger beast. The animal was truly terrifying up close. Its teeth were huge and its eyes glowed red. Velmor dismounted gracefully with his forearms and approached the building. Tejo went outside to meet him. Hello, Tejo said awkwardly. Hello, Velmor replied. He seemed nervous. His 4 hands kept moving like he did not know what to do with them. Did you receive my gift this morning? The hunted animal. Yes, thank you. It was very thoughtful, Tejo said carefully. Velmor's face brightened. I am glad. I wanted to show I can provide. Now I will show I can protect. Show you can what? Velmor did not answer. Instead, he pulled out a long weapon that looked like a spear mixed with a sword. He moved to the open area in front of the research station and began a demonstration. Tejo watched, amazed and a bit scared. Velmor moved like water, spinning and striking with incredible speed. His forearms made the weapon dance through the air in patterns that seemed impossible. He jumped high, flipped, and landed perfectly. The display lasted several minutes. When Velmor finished, he was barely breathing hard. A small crowd of colonists had gathered to watch. They started clapping. Velmor bowed to them, then turned to Tejo. This is how I will protect you from all dangers, Velmor announced proudly. That is very impressive, Tejo said, because it was true. But we do not have many dangers here in the colony. Velmor looked confused. No dangers? What about predators? Enemies, storms? We have walls and buildings. We are pretty safe, Tejo explained. Velmor's confidence seemed to shrink a little. Oh, I see, Tejo felt bad again. Velmor was trying so hard, but it was still really amazing to watch. You are very skilled. That made Velmor smile. It was the first real smile Tejo had seen from him. It changed his whole face, made him look younger and less scary. Over the next week, the gifts and demonstrations continued. Velmor brought flowers that only grew on the highest mountain peaks. He brought crystals that glowed in the dark. He even built a small shelter near Tejo's research station, using just his forearms and natural materials. It took him only 1 day to build something that would have taken humans a week. But the most surprising thing was the poetry. On the 5th day, Velmor arrived with a piece of bark that had words carved into it. He handed it to Tejo shyly. It is traditional, Velmor said, to express feelings in words. Tejo read the carved words. They were in human language, but the style was different. Beautiful and strange, your hands heal what violence breaks. Your eyes see worth in the fallen. Your heart holds kindness like mountains hold snow. Pure and constant. Tejo looked up at Velmor. You wrote this? Yes, is it good? I am not familiar with human poetry styles, Velmor said, sounding worried. It is beautiful, Tejo said honestly. I did not know you were a poet. All Karen learned to express feelings this way. Warriors must know both strength and art, Velmor explained. They started spending more time together after that. Velmor would visit Tejo at his research station. At first, he just watched. But then he started asking questions about the plants. He was genuinely curious. Tejo found himself enjoying the conversations. Velmor was smart. He knew a lot about the planet's ecology from a Karian perspective. He showed Tejo plants that humans had not documented yet. Plants that the Karian used for medicine or food. Your people have lived here for hundreds of years, Tejo said one day. We have only been here for 10. You know this world much better than we do. But you see things we do not, Velmor said. You look at plants like they are puzzles to solve. We just use them. You want to understand them. It is different. Good different. They started going on walks together. Velmore showed Tejo safe paths through the forest, places where beautiful things grew, hidden waterfalls and caves with ancient rock paintings. One evening they sat on a hill watching the sunset. This planet had two suns that set at different times, making the sky turn purple and green. "Can I ask you something?" Tejo said. "Of course," Velmore replied. "When you woke up and saw me that day, when I gave you water, what did you think?" Velmore was quiet for a moment. "I thought I was dreaming or dead. I had been lying there for a long time. I thought no one would find me. Then you appeared, a being I had never seen before. And instead of leaving me or hurting me, you helped. You gave your own water. You touched my wounds with gentle hands. I thought you must be a spirit. A good omen. And when you realized I was just a human, I was even more amazed, because it meant your kindness was real, not magic or spirit work. Just choice. You chose to help," Velmore said. He turned to look at Tejo. "That is why I was honored by the ritual. Not because of duty. Because I saw who you really are." Tejo felt his face get warm. He was not used to people saying such things about him. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Velmore said firmly. "Not anyone, you." Jinwoo had been watching the courtship with amusement. He visited Tejo every day to hear the latest developments. "He built you a house in one day," Jinwoo said, munching on snacks in Tejo's kitchen. "My ex took 6 months to build a shelf, and it fell down." "It is not a house. It is a shelter," Tejo protested. "It has a roof and walls and a door." "That is a house," Jinwoo said. "Admit it." "You like him?" Tejo paused. "I do not know. This whole thing is so strange. We are completely different species. So what? He is nice, he is smart. He writes you poetry. He obviously cares about you. What else matters?" Jinwoo asked. "Everything. Language, culture, biology. What if we are not even compatible?" Tejo said. "Then you say no at the end of the month and everyone goes home." Jinwoo said simply, "But you are thinking about it. That means something." Tejo had to admit his friend was right. He was thinking about it. A lot. Meanwhile, something else was happening in the colony. The Karen warriors who were camping outside had started interacting with the colonists. The children were especially fascinated by the tiger beasts. The animals looked scary, but were actually quite gentle when not hunting. Haewon had begun having strategy discussions with Warlord Kethzar. She respected his military knowledge. He respected her practical approach. They were becoming friends. The colony's farmers were learning hunting techniques from the Karen. The Karen were learning about human farming. Knowledge was being exchanged. Friendships were forming. But not everyone was happy. On the 15th day of the courtship period, a new Karen warrior arrived at the camp. His name was Drax, and he rode a tiger beast even bigger than Velmore's. He immediately challenged the engagement. Velmore was injured when the ritual happened. Drax announced loudly, "That makes it invalid. I have the right to compete for the bond." Tejo's stomach sank. Just when things were starting to make sense, everything got complicated again. The colony's main meeting hall had never been this crowded. Every important person in New Haven was there. The colony leader, security team, doctors, and scientists all sat on one side of the long table. On the other side sat Warlord Kethzar and 5 of his advisors. Velmore stood behind his father, still wearing his fancy armor. Between them were translation devices that turned their words into language the other could understand. Tejo sat at the center of it all, feeling like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "Let me explain again," Sujin was saying for the 3rd time. "Our friend Tejo did not know about your customs. On our world, helping an injured person is just helping. It does not mean marriage." The warlord listened patiently. Then he spoke, his voice deep and calm. "But he did know. He watched my son. He chose him. He performed all 3 sacred steps perfectly. I did not watch him," Tejo protested. "I was walking by and heard him. It was an accident." The Karen around the table made sounds of disbelief. One of the advisors spoke up. "You expect us to believe you just happened to be there? That you just happened to have water and supplies? That you just happened to perform our most sacred ritual by accident?" "Yes, that is exactly what happened," Tejo said, his voice getting louder from frustration. Velmore spoke for the first time, his voice quieter than his father's. "You are being humble. It is honorable. You do not wish to brag about choosing me. I am not being humble. I genuinely did not know. Taeho nearly shouted. Haewon put a hand on her brother's shoulder. Everyone, let us take a breath here. She looked at the warlord directly. Your people and our people see this situation differently. Taeho truly did not know about your customs, but I understand that to you the ritual was completed. Is there any way to undo it? The entire car inside of the table stood up at once. The warlord's face changed, showing anger for the first time. Undo a sacred bond? That is not just insult. That is declaration of war and eternal dishonor. The human side of the table went very quiet. The colony leader, an old man named Director Park, cleared his throat. War would be bad for everyone. We are trying to avoid that. Then do not suggest undoing what is done, the warlord said, sitting back down slowly. His warriors sat too. There was a long, uncomfortable silence. Taeho looked at Velmore. The alien was standing very still, but Taeho could see something in those golden eyes. Was it hurt? Embarrassment? Velmore's 4 hands were clasped together in front of him, and he was not looking at anyone. Taeho suddenly felt bad. This was not Velmore's fault either. He had just been lying there injured. He had not asked for any of this. What if, Jinwoo said slowly, there was a compromise? Everyone looked at him. Jinwoo was not normally in important meetings, but Taeho had insisted his friend come for support. What kind of compromise? Sujin asked. Well, on Earth, humans do not just get married right away. They date first. They spend time together, get to know each other. What if Taeho and Velmore did something like that? Jinwoo suggested. The warlord frowned. Explain this dating. Sujin jumped in, grateful for the idea. It is a trial period, a time for 2 people to learn about each other before making a final commitment. It is how we honor the possibility of a bond. How long is this trial? Asked one of the Korean advisors. Usually several months, Sujin said. But we could agree on a shorter time. Maybe 1 month? The Karin had a quick discussion among themselves in their own language. Finally, the warlord spoke. This is unusual, but it shows that the human wants to do this properly, wants to honor the bond with time and care. This actually makes him more honorable, not less. Taeho blinked. Wait, what? Yes, Velmore said, speaking up again. His voice sounded hopeful now. It shows thoughtfulness, wisdom. These are good qualities in a bonded partner. So you will accept a 1-month trial period? Director Park asked, leaning forward. We will, the warlord said. During this time, Velmore will court the human properly. At the end of 1 month, if both agree, we will have the full bonding ceremony. If both agree they do not suit each other, they may part with honor and no war. Both have to agree? Haewon asked, making sure she understood. So Taeho can say no at the end? If the courtship shows they are not well matched, yes. The bond can be released, the warlord confirmed. But it must be clear that they truly tried. No dishonor, everyone looked at Taeho. He felt the weight of 3,000 lives on his shoulders. If he refused, people would die. His sister, his friends, everyone he knew. But if he agreed, he had to spend a month with an alien who thought they were going to get married. He looked at Velmore again. The alien was watching him with those golden eyes. Up close, Taeho could see that Velmore looked nervous. His 4 hands were fidgeting with his cape. He was scared too. Scared that Taeho would say no. Scared of being rejected. Taeho made his decision. Okay, 1-month trial. I will do it. The relief in the room was visible. Director Park actually slumped in his chair. Haewon squeezed her brother's shoulder. Jinwoo gave him a thumbs up. Velmore's face brightened. His 4 hands moved to his chest in that gesture Taeho was starting to recognize as a sign of respect or gratitude. Thank you, Velmore said in careful human language. I will show you I am worthy. I still think this is all crazy, Taeho muttered. Welcome to diplomacy, Haewon whispered back. The warlord stood, and everyone else stood too. Then it is agreed. The trial period begins today. Velmore will begin traditional courting rituals. We will camp outside your settlement and wait. In 1 month, we will return for the answer. As the Karin filed out of the meeting hall, Velmore stopped next to Taeho. Up close, he was taller than Taeho by almost a foot. The blue skin seemed to shimmer in the light. I know you did not plan this, Velmore said quietly in his accented human speech, but I am glad it happened. You saved my life. That means something to me, even if the ritual means nothing to you. Before Taeho could respond, Velmore followed his father out. Jinwoo whistled low. Well, your life just got interesting. Interesting is not the word I would use, Taeho said, sitting down heavily in a chair. Sujin was already pulling up files on her tablet. I will send you everything I have on Karen courtship rituals. You should probably read it tonight. What kind of rituals? Taeho asked, suddenly worried. Oh, nothing too bad. Hunting displays, poetry, gift-giving, building things. Typical stuff, Sujin said, not looking up. That does not sound typical at all, Taeho said. Haewon laughed. It was the first time she had laughed all day. Little brother, you just agreed to be courted by an alien prince who rides a giant tiger. Nothing about your life is typical anymore. Outside, through the window, Taeho could see the Karen setting up their camp. Huge tents were being raised. The tiger beasts were being fed. Warriors were starting cooking fires. It looked like they were settling in for a long stay. 1 month. Taeho had 1 month to get to know Velmore and figure out if he could really go through with this. 1 month to prevent a war. 1 month to understand what his simple act of giving water had really started. He had a feeling it was going to be the longest month of his life. Taeho woke up to the smell of coffee and his sister's cooking. He stretched and yawned, feeling the soreness in his legs from yesterday's long walk. The morning sun was coming through his window. It was going to be another beautiful day. He walked into the kitchen where his sister Haewon was making breakfast. She was 3 years older than him and worked as the head of security for the colony. She was tough and smart, and she always worried about him. Morning, Taeho said, sitting down at the small table. Morning. You were out late yesterday, Haewon said, not looking up from the pan. Find anything interesting? Taeho poured himself coffee. Actually, yes. I found an injured alien in the forest. Haewon's head snapped up. You what? An alien. It was hurt. Broken leg, dehydrated. I gave it some water and did basic first aid. Taeho said this like it was normal, like he had just helped someone cross the street. Haewon put down her spatula. Taeho, you approached an unknown alien species, alone, in the forest. It was hurt, Taeho said simply. What was I supposed to do? Leave it there? Haewon sighed. This was so typical of her little brother. He was too kind for his own good sometimes. What did it look like? Taeho described the creature. The blue skin, 4 arms, golden eyes, the bone ridges on its head. Haewon listened carefully. She pulled out her tablet and started searching the colony's database of known species. I think you met one of the Kareen, she said, showing him a picture. They live in the mountains. We do not have much contact with them. They keep to themselves mostly. Well, this one seemed nice. I mean, it did not try to hurt me or anything, Taeho said. Before Haewon could respond, there was a knock on the door. It was Jinwoo, Taeho's best friend. Jinwoo was an engineer who fixed everything from water pipes to spacecraft engines. He was always smiling and joking around. Morning. I brought fruit from the market, Jinwoo said, walking in without waiting for an invitation. He stopped when he saw Haewon's serious face. What happened? Taeho played doctor to an alien yesterday, Haewon said. Cool. What kind? Jinwoo asked, sitting down and stealing a piece of toast. As Taeho started telling the story again, another knock came at the door. This time it was Dr. Sujin, the colony's expert on alien life and cultures. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She looked worried. Did you send for me? She asked Haewon. No, why? I got an automatic alert. Someone entered Karen an injury into the database search. That was you? Sujin asked. Yes. Taeho here met one yesterday, Haewon explained. Sujin's eyes went wide. Tell me exactly what happened. Every detail. Taeho was getting tired of telling the story, but he went through it again. Sujin's face got more and more pale as he talked. When he got to the part about giving water, she gasped. When he mentioned bandaging the wounds, she grabbed the edge of the table. When he said he left supplies, she looked like she might faint. Oh no, Sujin whispered. Oh no, no, no. What? What is wrong? Taeho asked, starting to feel worried now. Sujin pulled up files on her tablet with shaking hands. The Karen have very specific rituals. Very specific. And you just... Oh no, what did I do? Taeho asked. You completed their marriage ritual, Sujin said. There was silence in the room. Jinwoo started laughing. Good joke, Doctor. I am not joking, Sujin said seriously. Among the Karen, if you give water to a wounded warrior, bind their wounds, and leave provisions, you have completed all 3 steps of their bonding ceremony. You just proposed marriage. Taeho stared at her. What? No. I just helped someone who was hurt. That is all. To you, yes. To them, it is much more. It is their most sacred ritual, Sujin said, reading quickly from her files. The Karen believe that someone who gives water has looked into the soul of the wounded and felt a connection. It is a very serious thing. But I did not know, Teho protested. That does not matter to them. You did the ritual. All 3 steps perfectly, Sujin said. Suddenly, the colony's alarm system started ringing. Not the danger alarm, but the visitor alert. Haywan's radio crackled to life. Chief, you need to come to the main gate now. We have a situation, the guard's voice said. He sounded scared. They all ran outside. The colony was small, only about 3,000 people living in connected buildings surrounded by a protective wall. When they reached the main gate, Teho stopped and stared. Outside the gate were creatures. Lots of them. At least 100 Karen warriors, all wearing armor that shined in the sun. But that was not the most shocking part. They were riding enormous animals that looked like tigers, but much bigger. These animals had 6 legs and teeth as long as Teho's hand. The Karen warriors were not in fighting positions. They were arranged in some kind of ceremony formation, and they were carrying flowers, crystals, and long ribbons that blew in the wind. In the center of the formation was the creature from yesterday. It was standing now, healed somehow. It was wearing fancy armor covered in jewels and a long cape. The creature was looking right at Teho. That is him, Teho whispered. That is the one I helped. That is Velmore, Sujin said, checking her tablet with shaking hands. Son of Warlord Kethsar, the leader of the largest Karen tribe in the mountains. Oh, this is bad. This is very bad. One of the Karen stepped forward. It was older, bigger, with more elaborate bone ridges. It was wearing a crown made of bones and metal. This had to be the warlord. The creature pulled out a device and spoke into it. The words came out in accented but clear human language. We come in peace and celebration. We are here to honor the sacred bond between Velmore of the Mountain Tribe and the human, who showed great courage and compassion. We request to meet this honored one. Everyone turned to look at Teho. He felt his face go red. Jinwoo was trying not to laugh. Haywan looked like she was calculating how many weapons they had versus how many warriors were outside. What do I do? Teho whispered to Sujin. You have to go talk to them. Refusing to acknowledge the ritual would be seen as an insult. A very serious insult, Sujin whispered back. How serious? Haywan asked quietly. Or serious, Sujin said. We have 3,000 people. They have 50,000 warriors. Do the math. Teho felt his stomach drop. All he had done was help someone. How had this turned into a marriage proposal and possible war? He took a deep breath. Okay, I will talk to them. As the gate slowly opened and Teho walked forward, he could see Velmore's face. The alien looked happy, nervous. It was hard to tell. But those golden eyes were watching him with the same intensity as yesterday. Teho's simple act of kindness had brought 100 warriors riding tigers to his door. And somehow he had to figure out how to fix this without starting a war or accidentally getting married. The forest was quiet except for the sound of Teho's boots crushing the dry leaves beneath his feet. He had been walking for 3 hours now, deep into the wild parts of the planet that humans rarely visited. His backpack was heavy with equipment and sample containers. Today was supposed to be simple. Just collect some plant samples and head back before dark. Teho was a botanist. He studied plants. That was his job on this new world that humans now called home. The planet was beautiful but strange. The trees here had purple bark and the flowers glowed at night. Everything was different from Earth, and Teho loved discovering new things every day. He stopped near a dried riverbed and pulled out his water bottle. The sun was hot today. He drank deeply and wiped his forehead. That was when he heard it. A low sound, almost like a groan. Teho froze. His heart started beating faster. The sound came again. It was coming from behind a large rock near the empty river. Teho knew he should probably turn around and leave. This planet had dangerous animals, but something in that sound made him move forward. It sounded like pain. He walked slowly around the rock and then he saw it. The creature was unlike anything Teho had ever seen. It looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was bright blue, shimmering like water under sunlight. It had 4 arms instead of 2. On its head were bone ridges that looked like a crown. The creature was lying on the ground, breathing hard. One of its legs was bent at a wrong angle, definitely broken. The creature's eyes opened when Teho approached. They were large and golden. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Teho could see fear in those eyes. The creature tried to move away but cried out in pain. "It's okay," Teho said softly, even though he knew the creature probably could not understand him. "I won't hurt you." He looked at the creature more carefully. It was wearing some kind of armor, but it was damaged. There were cuts on its arms, but the worst part was how dry its lips looked. The creature had been here for a while, without water. In this heat, Teho made a decision. He slowly took off his backpack and pulled out his water bottle. The creature watched him with wide eyes. Teho opened the bottle and carefully approached. He knelt down beside the creature. "Here," he said, bringing the bottle to the creature's lips. "Drink. You need water." The creature stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly it drank. Teho tilted the bottle carefully, letting the creature drink as much as it needed. The creature's 4 hands suddenly moved, and Teho almost pulled back. But the creature just placed one hand over its own chest. Was that a thank you? After the creature finished drinking, Teho looked at its broken leg. He was not a doctor, but he had basic first aid training. Everyone in the colony did. He pulled out his medical kit from his backpack. "This might hurt," he warned, even though the words meant nothing to the creature. Teho worked carefully. He cleaned the wounds on the creature's arms first. The creature watched him but did not try to fight. Then Teho made a simple splint for the broken leg using sticks and bandages. The creature hissed in pain but stayed still. When Teho was done, he sat back. The creature was still watching him with those golden eyes. There was something in that look that Teho could not quite understand. It looked almost like surprise mixed with something else, something deeper. Teho pulled out all the extra supplies from his bag. He left his spare water bottle, some energy bars, and a blanket. He knew the creature might not be able to eat human food, but it was better than nothing. He placed everything within reach of the creature's forearms. "I have to go back now," Teho said. "But these are for you. I hope you heal fast." The creature made a sound. It was not a word, but it sounded important. One of its hands reached out and touched Teho's hand gently. The skin was warm and smooth. Then the creature pressed all 4 of its hands to its chest and bowed its head. Teho smiled. "You're welcome," he said. He stood up, put his nearly empty backpack on, and started walking back the way he came. He looked back once. The creature was still watching him. Even from this distance, Teho could see those golden eyes following him. As Teho walked through the forest, he felt good about what he had done. It was the right thing to do. Any living being in pain deserved help. It did not matter if they were human or alien. Kindness was important. His mother had always taught him that. He wondered if the creature had family looking for it. He hoped so. He hoped someone would find it and take it home. The splint would hold for a few days at least. That should be enough time. Teho reached the edge of the forest as the sun was starting to set. The colony buildings looked warm and welcoming in the orange light. He was tired and hungry. All he wanted now was a hot shower and dinner. He had no idea that his simple act of kindness had just changed everything. He did not know about the Karin people and their customs. He did not know that giving water to a wounded warrior was sacred. He did not know that he had just completed an ancient marriage ritual that could not be undone. He did not know that tomorrow, his quiet life as a botanist was going to become very, very complicated. Behind him in the forest, the creature called Velmore lay holding the blanket the human had left. In his culture, what had just happened was clear. The human had seen him, had chosen him, had given water, bound his wounds, and left provisions. All 3 steps of the bonding ritual completed perfectly. Velmore's hearts were beating fast, not from pain but from joy. He had been found worthy by someone brave and kind. Tomorrow, he would tell his father. Tomorrow, his tribe would prepare. Tomorrow, they would go to claim his intended. The human did not know it yet, but their lives were now bound together forever.